So let me tell you where I've been the last 4 days. The reason why I haven't posted any videos is I was on a road trip for work. And I was stuck in a car with 4 other people. It was kind of a rough trip. We did have a good time. We stopped at some neat places. I got to see some really cool stuff at the Aviation Museum there in Warner Robins. Like right out front, they had the A-10 Warthog, which is the tank killer. This thing it shoots 30mm bullets out of the cannon. Makes that sound you hear when it flies over, man. It's just badass. It's my favorite plane from the American plane arsenal. What was cool is on the way home, 3 A-10 Warthogs flew right overhead as we were driving back home through Florida. That never happens. You never see an A-10 flying around, and I got to see one up close and up in the sky on the same trip. I got to see the SR-71 Blackbird, which was a huge deal for Lockheed Skunk Works, and just an amazing plane for high flying, fast altitudes. Then we left there and we went to Atlanta where we got some lunch, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But one more thing while I'm talking about these cool stops I made, I also got to see the successor to the SR-71 Black Hawk when I went up to Huntsville, Alabama, and saw the Space and Rocket Museum up there, and they had the A-12 Ox Cart on display. And I thought, how cool is this? I have never seen these planes up close, and I get to see some of the most iconic planes in the American arsenal of planes all in one day, practically, actually a couple of days. So that was really cool. I want to talk to you a little bit about the part about eating on the road. This is what was tough for me, is I couldn't bring any food with me. I got to start wrapping this food before it starts going bad, getting whatever, defrosted, cooled down, something. Oh, and while I'm talking about this food, something I found out, I shouldn't be putting salt on this before I put it in the freezer. Thankfully, I'm usually cooking it pretty quickly lately. But it's probably not a good idea to put salt on the meat before you put it in the freezer, because it has something to do with how it brings the water in, and then it causes like an explosion of the crystals inside the steaks or the meat, so that you don't get as good of a flavor if it's salted ahead of time. So I'm waiting to salt my meat once I put it in the air fryer. The hard part about being on this trip with 4 other people packed in one car, I had no room for anything I could bring with me. I had no room for any food or my air fryer, so I had to go with whatever was going to be on the menu. And what was going to be on the menu was going to be decided by who was buying, which wasn't me for a business trip, thankfully. But at the same time, not so thankful, because I didn't get to pick where we get to go either. And it was difficult to get food that was on my menu. In reality, you got to try to make things work with the people you work with. And it wasn't easy, because the people I work with, in this case, wanted to go to barbecue places. Barbecue places don't often serve steak. They didn't serve any burger that I saw either, which was a surprise, because I could have just ordered some burger. I wound up getting brisket at the first place we went to in Atlanta, and it was just coated with pepper. I started feeling it very shortly afterward, and the entire trip, my guts were a mess, and it was causing not only issues with my stomach, it was causing issues where my anxiety was higher. It was really a bit of a shock therapy, because I had to eat brisket again, and it was my only other choice than to eat something that was not on my menu, like pork or chicken, so I ate brisket. In retrospect, I probably could have eaten some pork or chicken. I just don't like it, so I don't know. Might have been a good idea to make a sacrifice this time. I've just been so steady on lion diet for so long, it's hard for me to even consider trying something else. And not to mention, I don't like the way chicken and pork taste anymore. So anyway, just a bunch of random thoughts about what I had to do this week. Where did I put that thing at? I'm a little hyper this morning. I don't know why. I guess I'm excited to be home. It was a good trip. It was rough. We spent over, I'd say roughly 1,200, 1,300 miles in the car. All told, that includes driving around once we got to our location. Getting food was not easy. I had breakfast at the hotel, which was powdered eggs, and then the only things they had were sausage and bacon, so I didn't have any other meat. I did try a piece of sausage and said, no, I can't stand it. Still had, just had gut issues the whole time. I went to a Waffle House the next morning after I found out that it wasn't working out too well with the breakfast at the hotel. And I asked the lady to make sure to cook. I was in a hurry. I asked the lady to cook the eggs and the steak without anything but butter and salt. She took the information that way, but I saw the cook use cooking oil in the pan with the eggs. If I hadn't been in a terrible hurry, I would have said, hey man, stop and put butter on that and I'll have to whatever. But I didn't, because I needed to hurry up and eat and go. So I had to eat doggone vegetable oil. And in these 4 days, it has just been a nightmare. When I went on the way home, we actually went to McDonald's, and I was thankful because I was tired of expensive food that was causing me problems, because I could get some meat at McDonald's. I told them no seasoning, no nothing on the grill, just throw the meat on there and cook it, which is funny because whatever they did was a little different. The meat came out all separated, but it was delicious because I had my own salt with me, my Redmond salt, put some on there and made it through. Once I got that hamburger meat from McDonald's, I felt a whole lot better. It was like the whole trip totally changed. Like my gut responded and said, finally, you gave me something I need. I was actually feeling nauseous going through the mountains. And this was really interesting because I used to get car sick real easy, even in the passenger seat. If I was in the back seat, you could count on it, I wasn't get car sick. But since I've been working this year, I noticed that I ride in the car with somebody else a lot, and they're often driving because they're in charge. I haven't been getting car sick at all, whether in the front seat or the back seat. I've been totally fine up until this 4-day trip. And I realized that my gut was having an effect on my equilibrium as well as my mental status. I mean, it is a huge difference when I switch back to something that's even slightly what I shouldn't be eating. Having some spices in my meat. I ordered a steak at one restaurant, and I told them no spices, but I could tell it was marinated, so maybe she didn't think about that, or she thought that they add this later, but if I'd have thought better. So now it's like I got to come up with a card to write these people to make sure they cover all the bases whenever I go out. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of doing that because it makes it a lot easier when you're on a business trip. You don't want to call a lot of attention to yourself with all kind of weird requests. So I tell them I want a steak, and this is how I want it. And that's going to be the way I do it. I'm going to come up with a card for that. It'll say no pepper, no personal seasonings, no marinades on the steak, no vegetable oil when cooking eggs or meat. Only use butter for oil if you're using any. And if they can't accommodate that, then I guess I'll just have to try not to eat. Because it was a rough 4 days just having the marinade and the pepper and the who knows onion and garlic they probably cooked along with the brisket. It was rough. And I used to love onion. I used to love garlic. I mean, these were staples of mine. After 18 months on lion diet, I found out now that is definitely what was causing my trouble. I mean, I knew already, but to be able to go and try it again, to eat some of these foods that I haven't had in a while, and to really just realize, there's a big difference. It was a big difference. But I just wanted to come share that with you guys and let you know that I will be back and I'll be exercising. Oh, and I did get some exercise while I was down there. I will show you this real quick. They had a little workout room at the hotel, and I was surprised and thankful to see that people were actually using it. It didn't have a lot to offer. I mean, it was just a little elliptical and an exercise bike and a bench and a treadmill. The elliptical kicked my butt, let me tell you. I have on the inner thighs of my legs, well, not the inner thighs of my arms, obviously. The inner thighs, the muscles for like 2 days, 3 days. Ooh, it hurt. It was hard to get up and down after that. Hard to walk. So it was nice to know that, it was kind of nice to learn that machine is getting some muscles that I'm not currently getting with my own exercise routine. Because I've been thinking about joining a gym. Just that little experience using the elliptical kind of showed me that I can hit some more muscle groups and I can vary up my exercises a little more with a gym membership. So it's something to consider. We'll see how it goes. I was able to do some exercise on the treadmill. I found the treadmill to be kind of worthless because it really kind of winds up doing all the walking for you. I would rather walk, and after I did the treadmill once, I didn't do it again, because I just rather walk around the hotel. That would be much better for me in the long run, because I could feel the treadmill pushing me forward. That's just wasting my time. I'm kind of pretending like I'm exercising when I'm doing that. That's how I feel. I mean, overall, it reminded me that I've got to mix up my routine. So the gym membership may come in. I'm always packing everything into my schedule, just like doing this meat here. If I had the ability to get a whole nother cow right now, I would. And that would make things a lot easier. But we'll see. I'm going to be looking into that soon. I just wanted to talk to you about some of this meat and talk about my trip and what it's like to go on a business trip with a bunch of guys that are not eating a diet like you're eating. It can be rough, but I got through and I learned some things from it. Hey, it didn't kill me, so I'm going to be stronger. So if you haven't already done it yourself, screw it. Get up and do it. You got to start making a change in your life. Now is the time, because we need to get healthy. There's going to be some rough times coming. Thanks to Lion Diet, I can stay on top of everything I got to do. Thanks to what it's done for my health and my body, I can keep moving and get things done. Unlike before, when all of the craziness in the world was causing me to have angst and worry, it could be paralyzing. But when you feel good, it changes things. It makes it where you can address these issues. I also believe that you can go the other way, though. If you worry too much, you can cause your problems. You can cause your own gut problems. And I believe I've done some of that in the past as well. It's tough keeping a balance. And if you want to keep your mental health straight, you need to keep your physical health straight, and vice versa. Make sure you're putting the right stuff in your mind. Make sure you're putting the right stuff in your stomach. That way you can have a more balanced life. And when you find what works for you, stick with it. Just do it. Do it. Now's the time to do it. Get healthy, because we need you to be healthy. I really think we're going to all want to be a whole lot more healthy and ready for some tougher times very soon. There's plenty of channels where you can find out all the craziness that's going out there, and I see them too, but I don't like to reverberate that here. I want to reverberate a positive message that you need to get up and do it. Get up and take charge of your health, take charge of your life, make a difference for you and your family and your community by getting healthy, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?